Okay, so in this video we're going to have a look at how we add two unsigned binary integers together. Remembering that an unsigned binary integer is a value that is positive, and there are four rules that you need to follow when you are applying binary addition to any concept. So rule number one, if you have a 0 and a 0, then you have a 0. If you have a 1 and a 0, or you have a 0 and a 1, then you have a 1. And if you have a 1 and a 1, then you have a 0 carry 1. And if you have three 1s, so a 1, a 1 and a 1, then you have 1 carry 1. And this applies in any scenario we have with binary addition, and the rules always apply and return an accurate value. And it's probably worth me saying, just before we sort of go into this, if you want to see the actual method proved for 1 and 1, because you might be sat there wondering how that relates or what that's all about. If we take a number like, let's say like 26, add 9, which we know when we did primary school maths, what we're actually doing there is we're adding 26 and 0, 9 is another way of looking at it. Well, 9 and 6, if we were doing this in primary school, would be 15, so we'd put a 5 here, and we'd carry a 1 value over like so, and then we'd have a 2 and a 1 to give us an answer of 35. And when we perform this in binary in a moment, you will see that it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same kind of concept. So we might come back to that one in just a second as well. So let's take an example which we're going to work through together. And the example that we're going to do is 0001110, which is 26 in decimal, and we're going to do 0001100, which is 28 in decimal. So following these rules as we go through, we have a 0. We have a 0 and a 0, so we're going to place a 0 in here. We have a 1 and a 0, so we're going to place a 1. We have a 0 and a 1, so we're going to place a 1. We have a 1 and a 1, so we're going to go 0, and we're going to carry 1. And then we have triple 1, so a 1, a 1 and a 1, so we're going to place a 1 here, but we're also going to carry 1 over as well. Then we have 1 double 0, so a 1 is going to get placed here, a 0 and a 0 to give us 0, a 0 and a 0 to give us 0. And let's just add that up very quickly. So 32 and 16 to give us 48, 52, 54. Well, we know that if we have an answer of 26 and we have an answer of 28, that is going to be an answer of 54. So we've got that one absolutely spot on. Okay, so moving on to our next example. We're going to have an answer here, or we're going to have a binary value here of 01000 111, which is 71, and then we're going to have 410100, which is going to be 224, 240, 244. If you want to do this one yourself, pause the video now, otherwise I'm going to take you through it in a moment or two's time. So a 1 and a 0 is going to give us 1, a 1 and a 0 gives us 1, a 1 and a 1 gives us 0 and carry 1, and then a 1, a 0 and a 0 gives us 1, a 0 and a 1 gives us 1, a 0 and a 1 gives us 1, a 1 and a 1 gives us 0, carry 1, and then a 0, a 1 and a 1 gives us 0, and then carry 1 over here. Now, the reason why I've got this one in, just as a sort of little extension, is that this carries over beyond the assigned number of bits. So what's actually happened here is a concept called overflow. Now, an overflow is defined as when the number of bits is too large to be represented by the allocated number of bits in our sequence. So in this case, we've tried to represent a number larger than 255. Now, all we do in this case is we've got an imaginary 0 and 0 here, if we presume that the binary numbers go on forever, and we just place a 1 in here. But in an exam question, we would mark that down because we need to remember that it is a concept called overflow, and it's where the number or the maximum number of bits have been exceeded by the binary value. So in this particular case, 128 just doubles to 256. We then are going to add 32 onto that, so that's going to give us 288. We're going to add 16 onto that, 294, 304. We're then going to go 312, 314, 315. Now it's always a good idea just to check your maths on a situation like this to make sure that you are on the right lines. So we'll just bring this calculator up here. We're going to go 68, 70, 71, because that's our binary value, and we're going to add that to 192, 224, 240, 244. 315, I think, is what I said, which we'll now just compare. So we'll go 256, we'll go 32, 16, 8, 2, and 1 to give us 315. So there we go. So we got that spot on. All right. So now, next up, we are going to hand it over to you guys to have a go at doing a couple of different problems yourself. So in this particular one here, we've got 000, 4 ones and a 0, and 1 000, double 1 0 1. So have a go at doing that. Pause the video now, and then I'm going to have a go at doing that with you afterwards. Okay, so the number that we've got on this line here is we have 28, and the number on this line here is 441. So the answer that we'll ultimately be looking for is 169. So we've got a 0 and a 1 and a 1. 1 and 0 is a 1. 0, carry 1. We've got 3 ones. 1, carry 1. We're going to have 0, carry 1 to give us 1 here. 0 and 0 gives us 0. 0 and a 1 gives us a 1 just there. Let's add that up. 128 plus 32 gives us 160. 168. 170, 171. Okay, let's see where we've gone. Have I added the binary? Oh, I've added the binary number up wrong. That's why I ignore that just there, because I've actually got 24, 28, 30. 171 is our final answer, so there we are. Okay, so now have a go at our next question. Pause the video again. Get rid of those clues just there. Is that the same answer? I think that's actually the same. No, it isn't. It's a different problem. Just check some of these. Get rid of that one. 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 Right. Have a go at that. Pause the video now, and then I'll go through the answer in a moment or two. Okay, so with this question here, we've got a 0 and a 0 gives us 0. We've got a 1 and a 0 to give us 1. 0 and a 1 to give us 1. 1 and a 1 to give us 0. Carry 1. We've got 3 ones, so we've got a 1, carry 1. 1 double 0 to give us 1. We've got a 0, and we have a 0 on the end. So this answer here is 24, 26. 24, 28. Oh, that gives us 54. I think we've already done this one as an actual question. So there we go. There's an answer of 54. Okay, so I hope you found that video useful, and make sure you practice lots of these.